welcome to Lesson 7. This is the play-by-ear help video. If you're finding this for the very first time, I really recommend that you take a look at the previous lessons. The big ideas for playing by ear have to do with, well, how do you pick up the song from a recording? And to be straight with you, almost every play-by-ear musician is listening to recordings many times over. So there are a couple big ideas that work for that. One is something I call add one. You get the first few notes of a song, and then you listen to the recording and you're honing in on the next one. So add one. And then once you get that one, you're listening, okay, what's the next one? All right? So that technique works all the time. People do it a ton. When I learn a song by ear, I'm listening to a song 50, 60, 70 times. And it's just a normal part of doing it. You get much better at it, and eventually what happens, you start to be able to remember a lot more. You're not listening for just one note. You're listening for groups of notes. That ability comes by doing the echo game. So the scale gives you the notes and the key. The echo game starts to show you how to remember chunks of the music. And the jam gets you into the flow. So all of those things become very important, and those are presented in the foundations for each lesson. This is mostly for those of you who are seeing this for the very first time. So beyond add one, there's something that's very much like filling in a jigsaw puzzle. You sort of get, well, I got this bit and you get that bit. You learn how to set the edges. In other words, the high points, the low points. You start to be able to recognize, okay, well, when the melody gets there, the left hand is playing this note. It's like fitting in a puzzle piece, and then the other things start to fill in around it. I also talked about the idea of getting this sense of the story of a song, because there are sections that repeat, and that is true this week as well. So for the First Noel, the sections really come back. They come back very similar each time. And so when you're aware of that, it's like you have something to peg the parts of the song to. So in First Noel, another thing that happens that's somewhat unique. The notes are in a row. Still in a row. Still in a row. Here, there's a jump. And then they're in a row. So notes going up and down without skipping. So a skip, leaving something between. Notes in a row. Another way of talking about that is just to call it the scale. So that can help you. And it's real important, after the 3 on the F sharp, you want to get your thumb on the G so you can play through the rest of the tune and not run out of fingers. So this is the fingering of the scale, all right? So that can help with that one. The other thing that happens a lot, if you look at and hear the downbeats of the left hand, it goes down by scale. All the way down to the F sharp. So in terms of the puzzle pieces, all the way down through the scale, down to the F sharp, and then you come back the other way. All right, so that can help. Right? And then you fill in the notes. Right? So a person who plays by ear picks up on these patterns. It really helps you to organize the song. And if your version of the First Noel isn't exactly like mine, that's not that big a deal, right? because you want to be able to share the song, you want to play the song. Don't worry about this small stuff, right? And the last thing with First Noel, the third time it comes through, so the left hand is playing those chords, right? And if this is too hard, sounds pretty fancy. If it's too hard, you can use the simpler left hand there if you want. All right, so the next song is On Top of Old Smoky. And what I wanted to point out with this one is that listening to the notes that happen on the downbeats can be very helpful. We're doing songs now in 3/4 time. So there's 3 beats in every measure. And what you're going to notice is that it comes back a lot, right? So in this particular song, you come back to the D, to the D in the left hand, and then it changes and comes back. So one of the things that sets the edge, on your puzzle is what happens on the downbeat of each of those measures. That can be very helpful to remember. Okay? And then for the Streets of Laredo, you have somewhat the similar idea, but you have more notes in the measure. Okay? So the downbeats D, C sharp, D, A, B, G, A, right? And while it may seem like a little extra work to figure out what the notes are in the left hand, I encourage you to go ahead and take the time to figure out, okay, well, what's going on there? I mean, it's this, and those are the D, the G, and the B, and then the D, the F sharp, A. What you're really doing there is you're spelling out the chords, and you're going to run into those a lot in different songs. So if you take the time to learn it here and know how they sound, you're going to start to recognize it when it shows up in other songs. And if you decide to play a song reading from the guitar chords or paying attention mostly to the chords, you're going to find that the effort that you made to identify, well, what is that and how do you finger it and all that stuff, it really, really is worth the time. So if this song was written with guitar chords, what you would find is that the chord is changing on the downbeat, the first note of each measure. And that's how it's arranged for the most part, except for the very end. There's a little twist to get you back to home base. I hope you find that helpful. There are practice videos of these songs with a practice tempo, a slower tempo. So you want to kind of scoot there when you're trying to figure out how to play by ear. Thank you so much for joining me.